You know that feeling you have right now, that the day is slipping away, minute by minute? Well, that's not some law of nature. It's an invention. It's a piece of technology that we as humans built, piece by piece, over thousands and thousands of years. We are the architects of our own time, and this is the story of how we built the clock that pretty much rules our entire world. So let's dive in and see how we did it.
No, really. Try it for a second. No phone, no watch, no alarms, nothing. How would you even know when to meet a friend or when to start working? How would you know when your day even begins or ends? For almost all of human history, this wasn't some fun thought experiment, it was just life.
See, our ancestors didn't live by the minute, no way. They lived by the rhythms of the world around them. Time was the path of the sun across the sky, the slow, steady cycle of the moon, the turning of the seasons. It wasn't about deadlines. It was about the right time to plant seeds and the right time to harvest, when to hunt and when to rest. Time wasn't some resource you could spend. It was just a part of nature that you lived inside of.
So, how in the world did we get from that to the constant ticking clock on your wall? Well, it didn't begin because we wanted to be punctual for meetings. It began with the basic need to survive. And get this, the very first clocks weren't machines at all. They were the landscapes themselves.
Now, what's just mind-blowing here is how incredibly sophisticated these ancient methods were. We're talking long before writing even existed. People were carving calendars right into the earth. Places like Stonehenge in England or Nabta Playa in Egypt, these weren't just cool-looking monuments. They were massive, brilliantly designed astronomical observatories, built to align perfectly with the solstices and equinoxes. They were basically giant stone calendars telling people, okay, time to plant, or hey, winter's coming, get ready. They were literally following the sky to navigate their life. But just following the sky, that wasn't going to be enough for us. The next huge leap forward wasn't about getting better at observing time. Nope, it was about seizing control. This is the exact moment humanity stops just reacting to time and starts trying to manage it. And this right here just perfectly shows that fundamental shift in thinking. We moved from seeing time as a circle, this endless loop of seasons repeating over and over again, to seeing it as a straight line, something that you could chop up, organize, and ultimately own. This wasn't just a new tool, it was an entirely new way of seeing our place in the universe. And this quote, it says it all, doesn't it? The ancient Egyptians used their calendar to predict the annual flooding of the Nile. That was the absolute lifeblood of their empire. The Maya, with their incredibly complex calendars, used them to schedule the religious rituals that structured their entire society. So the key here is that the calendar became an instrument of power, a really big one. For centuries, this system worked just fine. But then, we took to the seas. And the age of exploration created this new, terrifying problem that no calendar could solve. A problem that cost thousands of lives and completely stumped the greatest minds of the era. Okay, so here's the deal. Figuring out how far north or south you were, your latitude, was pretty straightforward. You could do it by looking at the stars. But east or west, your longitude, you were basically sailing blind. And being just a few degrees off in your guess wasn't a small error. It could mean missing an island and starving at sea, or smashing your ship to pieces on a coast you never even saw coming. Finding longitude was, without a doubt, the single greatest scientific challenge of its time. Now, the solution, at least in theory, was beautiful and simple. Because the Earth spins at a steady rate, the difference between the local time wherever you are, which you can get from the sun, and the time back at your home port tells you exactly how far east or west you've traveled. Simple, but it required one seemingly impossible thing: a clock that could keep perfectly accurate time for months on end while being tossed around on a violent, pitching ship. And the person who finally cracked this problem wasn't some famous astronomer in a university. He was a carpenter from Yorkshire named John Harrison. This guy spent decades of his life perfecting a sea clock, the marine chronometer. And this device, wow, it didn't just tell time, it unlocked the entire globe. It made safe, reliable world navigation possible, and in doing so, it totally changed the course of history. So Harrison's clock had conquered the seas. But back on dry land, a new invention was about to demand that humanity conquer time itself. And that invention was the steam train. I mean, think about it. Before the railways, every single town and village had its own local time set by the sun. So noon in Bristol was a few minutes after noon in London. But you absolutely cannot run a railway network like that. How do you create a timetable if every single stop is in its own little time bubble? The answer is you can't.
And so, suddenly, for the first time ever, an entire nation needed to agree on what time it actually was. Now, big mechanical clocks like this one had been around for centuries, of course, ringing out the hour from church towers. They were important landmarks, sure, but they were local. The train completely transformed them. It turned them from isolated timekeepers into nodes in a huge, interconnected grid that would soon span the entire planet. The ripple effects were just enormous. Standardized time led directly to the creation of global time zones. It created the modern 9-to-5 workday, replacing that natural sun-up to sundown kind of labor with rigidly defined shifts. Punctuality wasn't just a convenience anymore, it became a moral virtue. The phrase time is money became a fundamental truth for this whole new industrial world. Which brings us to today. This whole incredible journey from observing the sun to coordinating trains has led us to a level of precision that would have seemed like pure magic to our ancestors. We are now measuring time at the very edge of what's possible. So what does a number like this even mean? It's the stability of our best atomic clocks. This is a clock so precise, it would not lose or gain a single second in over 30 billion years. That's more than twice the age of the entire universe. That level of accuracy is, well, it's almost impossible to really wrap your head around. And so there you have it, this incredible arc of human ingenuity. We started by just watching shadows move across the ground. Today, our time is governed by the predictable quantum vibrations of atoms that have been cooled to nearly absolute zero. We have truly become masters of measurement. And all of this leaves us with one final thought. From Stonehenge to the atomic clock, we have relentlessly built this architecture of time to organize our societies, to navigate our planet, and to build our modern world. But as you glance at your phone to check the time, it is worth asking, did we succeed in controlling time, or did we just build ourselves a more precise cage?